Hari ini saya akan berucap. Saya tak tahu lah ucapan umum ke, lecture umum sit ke or stand, I don't know. So I will just sit here, is that okay? Yeah, is it okay? Alright, so when I came in here, I was like thinking that, you know, how to make you all not to sleep. Sebab Dewan ini memang sangat dim. So it looks it's very comfortable to sleep after lunch. But I will just try to explain to you a little bit about Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change, and then what are the new policies that government is doing, and then perhaps most of all, I think we will open up for questions and answer, because by 4:30 I will have to leave for my another program and visit another of my agency. So I would like to open up floors for some of you who want to ask questions, and then you can ask questions about the government policies in the different industry, in different sectors of the ministry, and then to be able to communicate and interact with you more. So I have a ministry that is very wide, Ministry of Energy, Science and Technology, Environment and Climate Change. So it's the longest ever in the history of Malaysia, the name. Alright, so you really have 3 sectors, but today we will just focus a little bit on the environment and energy, on renewable energy side. But on science and technology, we'll just talk about R&D and R&D ecosystem. Some of you are researchers, some of you are lecturers, you probably are interested to know what is the government doing about our R&D ecosystem, so we will just talk about that, then later on we'll open up for questions. But first of all, I will talk about first on green agenda and then on R&D. So a lot of people think that green is about saving the world. How many of you think that the government needs to pay money to go green, or that everyone needs to pay a price to go green? Can I have a raise of hand? Okay. How many of you think that you don't need to pay a price to go green? Okay, we have a few. How many of you think that we don't need to go green? So there's a lot of argument, right? The argument is always that, why do we need to do it? If nobody is doing it, it's a say for example on climate change. If nobody is taking action, Malaysia is taking action, your action will mean nothing at all in a global scale, right? Why are we taking action, right? So maybe there will be, any of you? We don't need to go green, can I have it? Or you don't dare to raise your hand? Yeah? So, but as much as later on I will tell you about the government commitment, etc. But what we are seeing as a developing country, we always see green not only as about saving the world, it is also about creating a new industry, creating jobs, and creating economic activities and business activities. Later on, we'll share with you just one of the examples. So what is our commitment? We signed Paris Agreement in 2016. Malaysia signed a Paris Agreement that we will reduce 45% of our carbon emission intensity. Carbon emission intensity means absolute carbon emission divided by GDP. Alright? So that means how much of a carbon emission you emit per dollars of your growth. So it is not absolute number, it is as an intensity. So 45% by 2030 relative to 2005 level. If you need a base level, the base level is 2005. So by 2030 we need to meet a 45%. At this moment, Malaysia is 2016 until now, from 2005 to this level, and in 2020, at this moment we are already 33% reduction relative to 2005 level. So if you count, if you calculate, we have 10 more years to go, 12% more. Do you think we'll achieve our target? How many of you think we'll achieve our target? Raise your hand. Okay, that's okay, quite optimistic. How many of you think maybe not? Okay, why do you think we cannot? We already achieved so much, so few years only. Why do you think we cannot? Huh? Can I have an answer? No? So we roughly will be able to. But the reason then the United Nations came to us. Okay? So now it's a lobby. Now it's a lobby time, international. They ask all the countries to increase the commitment. That means next year, 2020, we will go to United Nations Conference of Party, climate change, climate change framework of convention. We will go, and then people will announce their new commitment. So the question that to us, the United Nations came and asked us to increase more. The question to us as a developing country is whether or not we want to increase our national determined goal. Okay, this one I need your view. So after you raise your hand, you need to jawab, huh? Can or not? So there must be some brave men and brave women out there. How many of you think that we actually should increase our commitment? Since we 10% more, we can easily achieve it. How many of you think we should increase? Can I have a raise of hand? Not many of you, huh? Okay. How many of you think we should not increase our commitment further? Less of you. Okay. Those who think that we should increase, what is the reason? USM is very quiet. What is the reason that, can someone just shout out there? Hello, am I talking to, hello? Yeah.
I think it's very clear. If for the last few years we have achieved 33%, which actually I'm very shocked as well, that we have actually achieved 33%, and actually I would like to know how did we actually achieve the 33%?
Not last few years, it's from 2005 level. 2005 level. Yeah.
And 10 years more, I'm sure we can do better.
Yeah. But the question is whether or not we should put it as a commitment.
Yes, I think it's not only us. I think the world, or everybody, the world are not doing that. I think Malaysia should take the lead.
Wow.
Show people that we can do more.
Wow, that's very good. All right. So that is the spokesperson of we should do more. What about a spokesperson? We should not increase our national determined commitment. Okay, come. Why?
I'm not saying we should not increase our efforts to do more. But what I'm trying to say, for your previous question about we have actually achieved so many percent. My question is, where do I find that proof that we have achieved that percentage?
You can see from our reports, there is a biannual report that I've just launched. It's online as well. So
I have seen reports.
Yeah.
But I'm doing recycling and I'm doing environment works myself. And I can't see as clearly as you say that we have achieved that percentage, I'm afraid.
So we have statistics for you to achieve, but let's go back to the topic and then we'll have question and answer session, yeah? So we go back to the topic, why we should not increase our commitment. Carbon emission intensity is a very, very easy to achieve target because it's a carbon emission per GDP growth. Yeah, so that's a very that we can discuss later. But why among you there are people that say that we should not increase the national determined commitment? Can I have just one spokesperson to tell me why you think we should not? There is no right and wrong answer. As a matter of fact, I have not decided. So, but Dr. Nagu looks like you have decided. Our Deputy Secretary General. Okay, can I have someone? Yeah.
We need to burn those carbon for our own growth.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't spend that for other people.
Okay. So that is the right. There's a dilemma as a developing country whether or not we are going to increase our national determined commitment. Is this? So whenever we go to international, there are more than 190 over countries that are in the Paris Agreement. Conference of Parties, there are more than 190. Just as a reminder, One of the biggest emitter, United States, has just said that they want to pull out from it, okay? So now, there is 190 countries. The thing about this is that some of them are developed country, some of them are developing country like us, some of them are least developed world, like even more less developed than us. So the questions that we need to ask is global warming caused by us, the current emission, or is global warming caused by the accumulated carbon emission to the history? If it is a historical emission, which is correct, because if you know global warming science, you will know that it's accumulation of carbon in the atmosphere that makes that world warm, right? So that means in the industrialization, who benefits from industrialization? The UK, the US. Those people burn coal like nobody business. They don't even filter or anything. They have very inefficient process. They emit carbon like nobody business. And they earn their dollars. And they become developed. Today, suddenly they say, okay, there is a problem. There's a global warming problem. By the way, Malaysia, you cannot emit anymore. Is that fair? Not fair, right? So there is always the position in Malaysia, position in the negotiation, the climate negotiation is always common but differentiated responsibilities. Meaning to say, we want to reduce. We want to also reduce emission because it is a common goal. It's a common goal across all the conference of parties that we are going to reduce carbon. But that must be differentiated. You must be differentiated of those who actually should pay more for it and those that should actually receive help so that they can cut their carbon. So the country's dilemma has always been, will our economy suffer because of our commitment in Paris Agreement? Or that we can actually think, have a higher NDC, yet at the same time drive a new economic area, or showing to the world that we can actually lead by example. That is why I have not made up my mind. Whether in the 2020 Glasgow that we are going to increase our NDC. NDC is National Determined Commitment on this. It's because that whenever we make a decision, it must be that for the benefits of the people. For Malaysia, it is not that bad. For Malaysia, because we are a middle income but upper middle income group. You look at the countries that is of island states, they will suffer more. Why? Because one, they don't have a population. Second, they don't have the economy. Third, these are the people that will have a lot of impact by the rising sea level. So there will be a rising sea level that will impact a lot of all these islands. Who is going to pay for this global warming impact to them? Because in global warming, you're always talking about mitigation and adaptation. That is adaptation, but mitigation means we all reduce carbon together. Adaptation means how are we going to adapt to the impact of global warming? Rising sea level, changing of the food chain, and so many other impacts that is going to impact us. Who's going to pay for it? So those are some of the very tricky international negotiation. And of course, Malaysian negotiators, we had our Deputy Minister has just, and the Deputy Minister of Water and Natural Resources, and the Deputy Minister of MESTECC has just brought our delegation to Madrid for UNFCCC meeting. It wasn't very fruitful. Eventually, there is no increased commitment from the developed world. There is literally no commitment. It's very difficult. The negotiation. Just think about it. Thousands of people burning so much carbon, flying to Madrid, and there is no outcome. Yeah. So that's the thing. So anyway, I just update you what are the things that the government is doing on climate change mitigation and adaptation. October. Launch a Malaysia Green Technology and Climate Change Center. It is a center where we want to be able to say that we will coordinate all the efforts in terms of mitigation and adaptation action. Why? Because whenever we talk about climate change, it is not only on the federal level, and it is not only MESTECC, Energy, Science, Technology, Environment, Climate Change. It actually encompasses many ministries, Transport Ministry, Natural Resources Ministry that takes care of forestry, many other ministries. So we actually need to coordinate across agencies. At the same time, we need to coordinate to the multi-level government, not only federal government, state government, then local government. Local government is about city planning, etc., etc. So that is on mitigation. What about adaptation? It's the same. So what is the impact of the shoreline? Rising sea level, what is going to happen to Malaysian shoreline? Have you all seen a viral picture of that all the city will be tenggelam like that? Have you all seen that thing? The viral picture? How many of you have seen it? Yeah? Then a lot of people ask me, whether it's real or not. You want to know whether it's real or not? So, those things needs to know. We need to know, we need to be data-driven and know what are the risks that come with us and who is going to invest in it in terms of infrastructure. So, coming to the risks, so we are launching this Climate Change Center as a coordinating agency. So, just now our VCs have just said that in USM you have a lot of data, climate data. We will also be a data center as well. Big data for data analytics, of climate analytics. So we will be getting all the informations from different sectors to be able to come and then to coordinate in one agency. So in that agency, it will be not so many people. Our main role is to coordinate across different industry, private and public, different ministry, different level of government. One of the things that we do recently is to increase our renewable energy target in electricity generation mix to 20% by 2025, excluding large hydro above 100 megawatt. So what happened is that because large hydro also flood carbon sink. So sometimes people say, this is a green project. Sometimes people say, not green project. So we don't count that. If you don't count that, by 2025, we want to reach 20% renewable energy in electricity generation mix. If we include large hydro, those in the Sarawak, then we will be hitting about 30 over to 40% by 2025. So how do we achieve that? Of course, there's a lot of analysis. I'm not going to go through that, but we need to inject 6.9 gigawatt of renewable energy. That is the breakdown, because going through the analysis, there is a breakdown on what are the installed, what are the business as usual, the additional one that we need to go in, and the different types of renewable energy. For example, biomass, biogas, small hydro. Hydro is the green, is the blue one, and then the yellow one is the solar. So 6.9 gigawatt, can we do that? Quite likely, we'll be able to achieve three things that we do. Net energy metering, large-scale solar, and feed-in tariff mechanism. I'm not going to go through with you all those things, but I want to highlight one of the policy reforms that we have done and to tell you a story of how being green may not necessarily means having to pay or government need to pay for it, or that it is economic negative. So I just tell one story only that is on net energy metering. Net energy metering means that you can actually sell back the energy to TNB, to the utility, and then get a savings in your bill. So now you can only buy electricity, you cannot sell. So sometimes we have roof, USM I see you have a lot of roofs. You have a lot of car parks as well. Car parks can also put on roof. And then those car parks, the solar that you generated, they put on solar panel, the electricity that you generate can sell it back to grid on a one-on-one offset basis. Okay, one. Second is that if you are corporate and if you are industry, your investment, CapEx investment, can get tax allowance. Okay, so what is the potential of net energy metering just on rooftop solar alone? I tell you, Malaysia has a lot of roofs. You can't believe it. We have 3.2 million of landed house, that's okay. 450 shop lots, 90,000 terrace factories, 21,000 standalone factories. And I always want to tell the ladies here, you have 1,000 shopping complex in the whole of Malaysia for you to go shopping around. 1,000 of them. So in Penang, the biggest one is Indigo. Queen's Bay. So they have a lot of roofs, and those roofs can earn money. And usually, a particular size, just a mid-sized shopping mall can generate about 1 megawatt at least of electricity. So we really have a lot of roofs. And just on roofs alone, if we put up solar panel in all the roofs in Malaysia, we will be generating more power of the total electricity supply we have today. You got what I mean? Not to say that 20%, is that you can put on rooftop solars to all the roofs in Malaysia. You can actually generate more than what we generate right now of the total capacity of generation. So we have that in 2018, from 2019 onwards, change a couple of policies. One, in a one-on-one offset basis, we call it net energy metering 2.0. Last time, you can sell to TNB at 30 cents. Now you can sell to TNB at the rate that you buy, which is usually 40 and 50 cents, depending on your band and depending on what category of consumers you are. So it makes it more feasible for business to invest. Second, you have tax allowance, and this one has generated a lot of growth. From 2016 to 2018, the whole of the 3 years, we only have about 17 megawatt of signing up to net energy metering. Do you know that from January to December 2019, that means last year, 1 year, we actually achieved more than 100 megawatt of approved net energy metering. That is how policy changes will change the way people make decisions. And does the government need to pay? No. What you do, you change your policies, and then you drive private investment into paying for it. And private investment, paying for it, are they forced to pay for it? No, because they earn money from it. Why? Those that put on rooftop solar, most of them can get their return back, their capex spending. Most of them can get their return back in 3 to 5 years. The remaining of the years, they earn money from it. Because why? You have a drop in your electricity bill. It's about 15 to 30% drop of your electricity payment. I give you some of these people who have put on rooftop solar in Bukit Mendajam here. We have Goodyear. Goodyear have a 2.5 megawatt. They just took, when we started our policy is in January, took them about 2 months, just 2 or 3 months get approval. Installation, half a year, 2.5 megawatt of rooftop solar installed. And then we have this. I just recently launched this one in Jasin, Melaka. It's 19.6 megawatt. They are going to 31 megawatt this year, end of this year. They will get 31 megawatt of it. So all of this, because it is not only good for the environment, it is good for business. So as government, as a developing country, we always want to go green, but at the same time, we want to be able to say it is also good for business. So it is also good for business, and that there are more people that will be a solar players. You generate more business activities. Some of you here who wants to do a solar business, maybe it's time for you to look into what is the gap in the industry. But of course, the competition is very fierce among the big players, but you can go into the smaller players, etc. So, this Sinyi spent about 60 million for the whole capex, 31 megawatt. They get savings of electricity. Haven't counted the tax allowance yet. They get savings 15 million every year, so 4 years of payback. That is excluding what they can get back from the government on the tax allowance. So it's a very, very good business proposition, right? Okay, this one is Kota Damansara. So residential, not so worth it, but still worth it because if you have big enough roof. Okay, so we have a lot of different policies on the financing part, because what we want to do is to design an ecosystem. Whenever we talk about green, you talk about green technology, you want to be able to say, how am I going to drive the green agenda, the green industry, without government spending money, right? Why? Because when you got government spending money, next time when Yeo Bee Yin is not a minister anymore, nobody is going to spend the money on it anymore, right? So it is a very simple thing. Creating an ecosystem is something that policymakers or leaders have to do for a simple reason that you want those things to last beyond your term. For example, on RE, what we need is one policy. We will launch it. Our RE transition roadmap will be launched in April, and that we have also power development planning that we developed. And then one is on the government regulation. Second is on private financing. So how do we generate more private financing? Is to be able to have RE enablers. I don't want to bore you with this. These are all some of the tax allowance, tax incentive, financing scheme. We even have green tariff, REC, RE trading. All of this is to be able to monetize RE. So a lot of people, when we talk about RE, you only sell electrons. You only sell electrons to TNB. You don't sell environment attributes. Environment attributes can also be monetized through renewable energy certificates, green tariff, or carbon offset programs that perhaps we are going to look into it this year. So these are some of the things that we are going to do. So in ecosystem where you have people, government, financing, and technology. These are the 4 things that we need to do. In any ecosystem, whether it's green technology, green industry, these are the 4 things that we need to look into. Whether we have enough talents, do we have enough SMEs that invest in this? Does the bank know about this? Private institution, does the bank educated with all this RE? Do they know how good it is a business? Third, do we have the technology to achieve the target? Fourth is, what are the regulations or what are the policies framework that the government need to put to make this happen? All right. So just on RE alone, to hit the 25%, to hit the 20% target, we estimated that this target itself, through policy changes, etc., will be able to attract 33.25 billion of private investment into RE industry. So now, we are talking about an environment goal that has an economic benefit. 33.25 billion of private investment, a lot more business activities, and then by 2025, we will also see RE jobs, more than 100,000 of them. And and this is not replacing the conventional energy jobs. If you look into this graph, you will look that these jobs are actually further creation of new jobs, because this is every gigawatt hour of generation, how many jobs you create. Solar create more jobs than coal and natural gas per gigawatt hour generation. So these are some of the things that we see, that if we can actually creative enough, the developing countries, if we embrace the change and be able to make a commitment, there will also be jobs and economic activity, as well as investment opportunities given. And of course, the next one that the government is moving into is single-use plastics. Plastics as a whole. The world is full of plastic. Today, why I'm here is because in the morning I need to go to the ports in Penang to send back some of the containers that come in, there's plastic waste containers that come in illegally to Malaysia. So we are going to send them back. But we also, thank you. It's a lot of headache. Thank you for the claps. So it's a lot of headache. So we want to send back, we send back 150. We are continuing to stand back, and whoever that want to see Malaysia, although we are a developing country, we are not your dumping ground. Yeah? So we are a country with dignity, that we want to protect our environment. So, but at the same time, we also have our own single-use plastics problem. So that's why we launched Malaysia towards zero single-use plastics by 2030, roadmap in 2018. One of the things that R&D people can look into, and we have a MESTECC fund, R&D fund for this, is the funding on the replacement of plastics material. Whenever we talk about 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle, we always talk about environment goals, reduce, reuse, recycle. Can we reduce plastic? Can we reuse, reuse them? Can we recycle them? And then we want to introduce another R, which is to replace. If this is not, packaging is sometimes essential, right? On hygiene and on that, packaging is so essential. Then we need to ask the question, what kind of materials can replace the current hydrocarbon-based plastic that will be more environment friendly? That's why the government also pay for people who want to do R&D in this, and also we also give tax incentive for people who want to produce bio-resins that can be a replacement of hydrocarbon-based resin, which is the base to build a plastic. I hope I have more time, but just now I saw that there's a problem with my timing already. Okay, so now we get back to the R&D ecosystem, because I don't have time, but many of you will ask me R&D question anyway. So two things that we are trying to overcome. I just want to tell you there are two challenges in R&D ecosystem in Malaysia. First challenge, we have huge challenge, is this. If you look at this graph, you will see that more than 71% of the researchers in Malaysia are actually residing or working in higher education. But if you look around the world, whether it's United Kingdom, Switzerland, Singapore, Thailand, Netherlands, Sweden, Japan, or Korea, most of them, it is in blue. It's in business enterprise. Malaysia has the problem that most of our researchers actually are in public research institution and higher education. It's not really a problem if there is collaboration, so that later on we'll tell you what are the policies that we do to try to bridge this together. So we have this big challenge, is that we have huge researchers in public institution. Second, we also have huge challenge in this. If you look into this, the green one is experimental research, is industrial research. That means the green one, if you do the green research, the time it takes to be commercialized and to earn money, real money, is much shorter than if you do the red one. There's fundamental research, and then you have a lot of applied research. So Malaysia, if you look around as well, look around the world compared to Korea, Japan, Denmark, Singapore, China, and all this, you will find out that people do so much more industrial research than Malaysia. That means the money they pay for the R&D can generate economic activity so much more faster than what Malaysia can do. Malaysia spent money on R&D that have not been able to generate real money, real economic growth, real jobs to Malaysia for a long time. So we do not know that. Many of you are researchers. You will later on ask me question whether you can get increased funding or not. Okay? Later on, I can answer you now. So our focus has always been, if your research has industrial collaboration, one, or that it is market driven, then the likelihood of you getting it is much higher than if your research is just based on curiosity. Malaysia is a developing country. We need to shift our focus. So one of the things that we do is iConnect. The Academy of Science Malaysia has just launched this thing on iConnect, where we connect industry, public institution, researchers, public researchers, government and NGOs together in a collaborative network on 4 different strategic areas to start with the 16 million funding as a seed fund to do R&D that is industry driven and that is market driven. Because I don't have time, I will skip this. We have 4 different strategic areas that we focus. One is on halal, another one is in health, wellness and health. The third one is on IR 4.0. The fourth one is in fintech in Islamic. So we think that these are the strategic areas to start with. Once we have the procedures, or once we have the platform, formalize the ways we do things, formalize and etc., we will then focus on other strategic areas. But we will not focus on many strategic areas, because if we spend too much money on too many things, then eventually you don't go deep, you are not going to be able to compete in the global level. The other thing that we do is Malaysian Open Science Platform. We will start with just 5 institutions. USM is one of it. Universiti of Malaysia, USM, UTM, UKM, and as well as UPM, together with some public research institute, to develop a common platform for data depository. This is very important because what we see right now is that researchers have not been sharing data enough. Actually, you are duplicating and wasting the government resources. If you do it in this UM, you do it in USM, you do it in UPM, you waste government resources. So I want to make sure that all our universities are actually doing things that is new. So you have this depository, but it will take some time. Dato' Asma, we take 2 years, this one. MSOP, 2 years, 2 years. Finish the whole thing. We want to be able to have a platform where all researchers will be able to share raw data. It's not only your research paper, it's your data. So then you can our public institution, for example, Malaysia Space Agency will have a lot of satellite data, we'll share it, the raw data, that you can actually use it for your modeling, etc. So the other part that we have done for MESTECC is this. So we have developed this platform where it's called National Scientific Facilities and Equipment. This is, we started with MESTECC only. This one is that for all the equipments that we, in MESTECC, that the utilization is very low. We actually put it up for government and for private sectors, or for other researchers to come and to use them at the nominal cost. So this one, all of you can go, you can download the platform, or you can go to the website at sfe.mestec.gov.my. But we want to include more. So maybe USM or the other universities want to participate in it. Why? Because many a time, so some of you researchers, you will also ask me questions later. Can I have funding to buy some equipment or not? So most of the time, some of the equipment, the sweating rate, that means the utilization rate of that equipment is not high enough that it will not be able to use for maintenance as well as replacement. We have that problem. So this NSFE is to be able to monetize and optimize the income that we can generate from the facilities. We also have this, just now I told you we have 2 big problems. One big problem is that our researchers reside in just on public institution. The other big problem is that our money has been spent not on industrial research. So we actually did a pilot project, RISE, last year. It's called Researcher Industry Scientific Exchange, where MESTECC sent 100 researchers to the private industry to work free of charge as a research, consultation, training, or just tech transfer. So we send our people in the public research institute free of charge to the industry. They go to the industry to work for them for free. Maybe they will get some allowance, etc. But they work on research that is needed by the industry. So we have 100, and right now some ministry will come back to us and ask whether or not we can actually do the same. Their ministry can also do the same. We hope to be able to scale it up to to the other ministry on the government level on this rise, that we will send more and more of our public researchers to go to the industry to understand and to work for the industry. Eventually, if you are researchers here, there is a need to be able to say that there is a return in investing in you as well as investing in your research. As much as I'm a science student and I'm curious of everything possible under the sun, we must be practical to be able to say that we are responsible for taxpayers' money. Whenever people pay us tax, we must make sure there is return, that we can generate enough economic activities that come from it. So that is basically what I would like to share with you. On the ecosystem and on policies on science and technology, this year we will see more development. Why? Because finally, we get to start the National Science Council back after quite many years that we have not. We have finally scheduled a meeting with Tun on the National Science Council with people that we will talk about national science policies, direction, etc. So we will see more of the movement in this year, because finally National Science Council is reactivated. We are very hopeful that it will be able, although MESTECC is not directly responsible for higher education, we believe that on the national level and the federal level, policies will be changed and will change more practically with a lot more industry driven in the National Science Council, and we can make direction faster through the National Science Council. So with that, I'd like to thank you and open up for questions.
Thank you very much for Happy New Year, YB, and on a personal note, welcome to parenthood. Okay, I've actually 3 issues I want to highlight. My name is Lou from Wawasan Open University. First is the NEM. I'm actually one of the pioneers of the NEM project, but I noticed that when the NEM billing starts coming in, I noticed that people like us who actually menyahut seruan kerajaan to be in the solar in energy saving, we actually still have to pay the clean energy fund 1.6%, and I don't notice why are we also paying service tax on certain grounds. I think we should. I think it should. The government should actually exclude for private users like this. Secondly, on the NEM, it actually takes 9 months for me to complete the cycle. So I hope that the government would actually shorten the cycle, because I think a lot of us want to be there.
What is the bottleneck on this?
Why is there a fund of 1.6% that, you know?
No. What is the bottleneck of your 9 months?
Actually, I don't know.
Who tell you that? No. So it's your contractor that install to say that the application?
Actually, I went through GS Parks, the National.
Okay.
Second one that I want to talk about, recycling. You were in this documentary on Netflix called Broken, and when I saw the documentary, I was really shocked that many types of plastics are not recycled, and we were actually told that most things are recyclable, and it all ends up very sadly in the downside. And I think the government should come up with policies that to encourage only recyclable plastics should be encouraged. Third thing, which is very common in Penang, we notice now you have recycling 3 bins, and one of the bins is glass. And up to today, the Majlis Bandaraya Pulau Pinang still doesn't want to collect glass, and even a lot of recyclers do not want to end up glass. And the very sad thing is glass ends up in the dump site too. So I think these are the 3 things that I hope that the government will address. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first questions on NEM is why you still have the 1.6% renewable energy as well as your 6% SST is because you are users that still use more than 600 kilowatt hour. So even after NEM, you total of your energy usage, your electricity usage is still more than 600 kilowatt hour. So the criteria of that is the 600. So you are asking for me to give you a discount even though you are more than 600 kilowatt hour, right?
Actually, I checked this with Tanaka. When the first time I got the bill, the first bill, it was because of the cycle. If you contain the cycle of 31 days in the first billing, the 6% applies. That's what the
No, it's your first bill, right? You have not seen your second bill, right?
and then there's the last bill, rounding up bill for 31st of December. Now, I'm not nitpicking all this with the government. Actually, I put the solar panels. It's not because I want to save money, but I just want to feel good that I'm contributing something.
Okay, but never mind. Our assistant, I mean, this is very particular case. Our assistant can go to see you and see what are the 1.6. But as a general rule, we actually give 1.6%, charge 1.6% renewable energy fund to all to all consumers as above 600 kilowatt hour, as well as a 6% SST. The second one on the G-Sparks, I think it's the G-Sparks problem. Normally, so our target on the KPI for NEM approval is 60 days. So they have to approve, once it starts, they have to approve sometime in 2 months' time. So if they come to you taking a bit of time, it's probably because G-Sparks is one of the solar players, do solar leasing. So it's probably that. The other part on the plastics recycling. So now, because that is the reason why we actually went to Basel. There's another convention called Basel Convention that is on transboundary hazardous waste movement. That actually got amended sometime in May. That will be able to differentiate the movement of plastic waste around the world. So it used to be an Annex 9 where every plastic waste is can be transported without prior informed consent. But right now, because there is an amendment, Norway has proposed an amendment, and then more than 180 countries actually agree with it, except United States, as usual. They agree with that we will categorize the mixed plastic waste, the contaminated plastic waste, as a category that they need prior informed consent. What does prior informed consent means? It means that it doesn't mean that the exporters cannot give to the importers, importing countries, but that means the importing country needs to agree to accept to it. So if the importing country agrees to accept this, then they will be able to still ship contaminated mixed plastic waste to that country. And normally, this kind of country is actually not a dumping country. It's a country that can process this with their technology. For example, some European countries actually, they import waste, they import all kinds of waste because they can actually, in their technology, be able to dispose of this technology, so they can still import them. So they will then give them a consent to bring it. So with prior informed consent, then Malaysia, developing countries especially, will be able to say, okay, we want this waste, we don't want this waste, we want this, we don't want this, depending on the industry, depending on who applies for it, and then you can control it better. So Basel Convention Amendment will come into effect in the year 2021. Yeah, it'll come into effect at year 2021. So we have 1 more year. So a lot of people say, we will still approve some of this recycling. We can't do it now because you really will not be able to differentiate between clean one and the non-clean one. You cannot differentiate because the labeling itself cannot. So that one is on the recycling. The other last question? Done? Alright, so we can have
Next.
Oh, glass. This one you need to ask your state government. This one is not under the jurisdiction. I suspect that because glass, the profit margin for recycling of glass is actually very low. That's why I suspect, but I'm not very sure. You have to ask the state government why. But I think the Penang government as a whole is moved, as usual. Penang always lead in many things in research, but I think as a whole in terms of environment, especially in waste and waste management, it is one of the leading, if not the most progressive states in the whole entire Malaysia. As a matter of fact, when we have our roadmap, plastic recycling roadmap, we actually send the other states' officers to come to Penang and learn from Penang officers. So although some of your Penangites still think that your state government not doing well, but some of the states are really need more build up, need more capacity building to be similar as Penang, and then Penang, of course, we'll get Penang government to do a lot more better and more progressive. All right?
Okay, thank you, Yeo Bee. So next, ada soalan, silakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. YB, Yeo, thank you for coming to USM. My question pertains to some of the nature of the research that's been done on climate change in Malaysia and what hinders some of the progress. With respect to climate change research, which is more open in nature, for example, the haze that comes from Indonesia or Malaysia, the openness of the Straits of Malacca, where we have Sumatra being the other big coastline. Much of our research, if you talk to the Ministry of Education and some of the research grants that we get from the Ministry of Education, restricts us to the national boundary. As you know, researchers from ASEAN, Singapore, for example, whenever they need to look at a greater picture, this is lifted. But many times in the past, when we asked the grants that come to USM, for example, from the other ministries, is restricted to the national boundary. And I think science shouldn't be like that. If you are to be more sustainable, and if you want to look at the greater picture, and also have scenarios of forecast of things that are coming our way, this needs to be opened up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your suggestions.
We have one more question, please. Ayo, silakan.
YB, my name is Don, and I'm referring to the question of glass. It is a problem in Penang. I'm from Penang, so I'm talking about Penang. There is a big problem in Penang. Nobody wants to recycle glass, nobody wants to buy glass, and I think 3-4 years ago I suggested to the state government and the local government and PSP, the only way we can deal with it is to start up a glass crushing facility. You crush the glass into powder and dump it back on the beaches or in the sea. And the cost is not that high, because trying to get glass or people to buy glass, they are only in Johor, Pasir Gudang, Johor, and it's not feasible. The logistics too expensive. So what is your take on that? My suggestion.
YB?
Yeah. The first question was on the that we must do more on regional research. That will be on the MOEs. We'll take note of that. It will be also in, because another thing that I would like to update the researchers here is that the government has set up a Research Management Agency, RMA, under Ministry of Economic Affairs to coordinate across all ministries, because not only MESTECC got R&D fund, actually MESTECC has very little compared to the total allocation for R&D funds. So, but we don't have a management agency, so it will be under a neutral ministry, MEA, where they will decide on how to allocate those funds easily. We will take note of that, and when we suggest to the policies on how we give and distribute allocation, we will also allocate for regional research. I think especially on environment, because there is a lot of transboundary impact, that is why we need a regional view on this issue, and it is very important for the social benefits of Malaysia. So we will take note of that. The second one on glass, actually, let me go back and tell the feedback to the EXCO of Allowance kita in YBP on the glass, on the concerns of glass recycling, and let me see if we will just feedback and say that Penang is not doing enough in the glass. So let's see if they have any suggestions on that or not, because I think different states are at the different level. perhaps it's time for Penang to look into glass, but we will give the feedback to the state government, and I can assure you I will convey what you conveyed to me today to YBP.
Well, I've spoken to him about 4 or 5 years ago on the same subject.
Yeah, but 4 or 5 years ago, so okay, let me just be fair. I mean, let me just say a fair comment. For example, sometimes people come and complain to me, or sometimes they meet me and tell me something in the forum. They think I can remember them. But then one day I actually listened to 100 people. Although I want to listen and remember all of them, right? But sometimes you miss lah. Sometimes you miss, or sometimes it is not your priority yet. So because we have very, very limited time and very limited resources, as a minister, as a ministry, we always have to prioritize. So perhaps that time 4 years ago when you suggest it wasn't the priority yet, maybe right now it's a priority. So I will have to speak to him first, and then to get more information from him before I can actually express on their behalf. Right? I think that will be fair for the government, for the state government.
Okay,
all right?
thank you, Yeo Bee.
Yeah.
So,
I hope.
question? Lagi? Kalau daripada student kan, you want to share your vision in science and technology?
Good afternoon, YB. Actually, it's a very open question. We are actually, according to a recent UN report, we are about 12 years, we have only 12 years left for the 6th mass extinction. So, what has Malaysia planned to do?
This is a very good question. I don't have an answer in why. See, for example, global climate crisis. Do you know that Malaysia only emits 0.06% of total carbon emission of the total world, the entire world? So that means even we starve ourselves, even we don't want to eat, we live in the jungle, we don't emit anything, we cannot save the world.
But Malaysia is special. We're one of the 12 mega biodiversity.
So now, so you can have an offset program. You can have all this lah, but it is not enough lah. So if it is talking about that only Malaysia, it is not enough. We need international collaboration. That is why year after year, even though I know that we may be not getting any results from UNFCCC, we still invest for our delegation to go. Because climate change is a global crisis. It cannot be solved by one country. We are committed, one thing, we are a mega diverse country, we are still committed to our Rio de Janeiro commitment that more than 50% of our land mass is still now covered by forests. It's 53.5% to be precise. So now, and then this year we are coming up with the offset program where we say, okay, reforestation of how we want to create more carbon sink for the world, how this can be a carbon offset program for some of the developed countries and those things. But what can Malaysia do to save the world? There is nothing we can do enough to save the world. We need the entire world to cooperate, to collaborate, to work aggressively, to be committed before we can say we can save the world. So I cannot say we can reverse. I cannot say that it is a guarantee that we will not face the climate crisis, that they will come soon, depending on which scientists you believe in. But what I can say is this, is that human being has overcome many, many problems before.
Can I have one more point? I think your ministry can start by providing more for endangered species research.
What?
Endangered species research.
Endangered species research, how to save carbon emission?
A lot of endangered species are the top predators.
Yeah. So you see, if I fund you, let's say for example, let's say if the solution is to fund more research on endangered species, do you think the actions can be quick enough?
Well, we can do our bit. I mean, we have a lot of
your questions just now, the question was, what can Malaysia do to help to reverse? I say it's impossible because we need international. We can do our bits, including carbon offset program, including funding more research, including changing to renewable energy, including increasing carbon sink through preservation of mangrove, or even replacement of mangrove or reforestation. All of this, we can do our bits, not only on endangered animals, but endangered, well, as I said, on allocation of R&D allocation, we will have to go through RMA, and the endangered animals R&D will be under social benefits. That means social benefits categories where we see what are the strategic allocation for each and every of these areas. Because the government has very limited resources, what you want to do is to be able to prioritize what is economic benefits, social benefits, and what are they, and how are we going to allocate it differently. All right?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The solar is out of date, we cannot use it any longer, so we have to either refurbish or we must dispose the solar panel. And based on my own knowledge, solar panel is toxic and hazardous waste. So in long-term investment, of course, we are generating money using solar. But then, once the solar cannot be used anymore, so we have to dispose it, and it will cause environmental problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So on this, we have looked into that. Our first large-scale solar project was launched a few years ago. So, and the life of solar panels are about 20 years. So we will have about 10 years to prepare ourselves for a solar recycling business or solar panels recycling business industry. As a first step, I'm looking at how First Solar is doing it. First Solar is a big solar manufacturer in Kulim. They would like to do a recycling for First Solar panels. So I'm looking at how they actually do it and what are the regulations that is enough that we should come with it to be able to make Malaysia not only recycling our own hub and recycling our own PV, but can we be a center for solar panels recycling? Because that will generate, again, more economic activities, good for the environment. And according to First Solar, I mean, depending on the design on the solar panels, some of the solar panels, many of their parts can be recycled, and the toxic parts usually can be recycled. And that even though those that cannot be recycled, in terms of mass, it will be so much smaller than the total mass size of a PV. So I can assure you that we are already looking into that, but we have some time to look into that, and the first step is to go into with First Solar and see how First Solar is doing with their panels as a start. All right?
Okay. One last question, anyone? Yeah.
Oh, two more. Okay,
Oh,
it's okay.
two more.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
One. Okay. One lady and one man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Felix Leong. I'm 17 years old. I just graduated. No, I didn't graduate. I'm waiting for my result. Okay. Based on my observations, I'm surprised that why did Malaysia didn't treat the climate change as a crisis? It just treats it as a normal problem. I mean, like, of course, there are climate strikes in KL. There are protests in KL to stop climate change. But I'm surprised the majority of people they don't even know the catastrophe that climate change will bring to Earth if you don't solve it. Even Greta Thunberg, a 16-year-old Swedish girl, knows what happens if you don't solve the problem. So I ask, is there anything done to solve this problem? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Shaoxi from USM, but I'm asking this question as an individual. I'm just wondering, because you're mentioning about the NEM, you have tax reductions for the industry and also the business, but what about for individual laymen? Do we get tax reduction when there's a big lump sum for us to invest on our rooftop? No, we don't get that, right?
Yep.
Right. Sorry, one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's okay, I forgot.
Okay. Let me answer answer the climate crisis first. You know, one of the things that we are going to do, one of the things that we do on the mitigation is we change the RE, we increase our RE target. The other part that the government is doing is we change our transportation mode. We are now at 23% of public transport. Actually, transport is one of the biggest emitter of carbon in Malaysia, 1/3 of it. So what we do is that we want to increase our target of for public transport usage from now 23% to 30%, I think. I cannot remember. That's 40%. Sorry, 40% by 2030. 40% by 2030 by the Transport Ministry. So, and then we have the Natural Resources Ministry that work on reforestation. They are using international fundings like this REGD for this reduction of emission through deforestation and land degradation. So, and all this. So we are doing it differently, and then also we are in MESTECC, although we are not in the Natural Resources Ministry, we are also trying to raise awareness about how do we actually use natural way to be carbon sink, for example, reforestation of central forest spine, and then some of the things that we do for mangroves, and hopefully next year, not this year, we can also look into seagrasses, R&D, etc. But some of the things that you may be able to help us is this. This year, we will also do youth movement for climate change because we found that there is a generation gap here. Climate awareness is much stronger among younger generation than older generation. Older generation actually don't see it as a problem. But younger generation, because you will live much longer, because when the IPCC report comes, it says by 2050 we'll hit the 2 Celsius, all this. You know, because older people, they will not live to 2050. They will never think that they should take action. So we recognize the fact that we actually have a generation gap. So in one of our initiatives this year is the youth movement in climate change. We want the youth to be able to be the ambassador to speak to the older generation on the need to take climate action and to be able to see how is Malaysia going to be ready if we are going to face rising sea level. How much are we going to invest? Can we invest in this and at the same time develop our talents so we can sell our services and products to other countries? So whenever there is danger, there is always opportunity. So this is what we want to do, is that if we are going to be so much focused on adapting and mitigating climate change, we must be able to say we can sell the products and services. But as a whole, I think awareness is not enough. Why people don't see it as a crisis? Because different people have different perspective. What we want, we hope the younger generation can do is to be able to speak for your generation. That is why we will have this climate change youth movement, because we think that you are the best spokesperson for climate change. We hope that you will tell the older generation, please leave a better world to us to inherit, and hopefully we'll be able to pass through 2050, 2100, and so on and so forth. Alright? On net energy metering, on the personal tax allowance, we will try again this year with the Ministry of Finance to be able to see whether or not they will be able to give the incentive. But normally, because one solar panel is about 30,000 for even a terrace house. So that is why normally an individual won't invest in it. That even you have a tax allowance, unless you are very pay high grade, that you don't actually pay 20,000-30,000 of tax. So that is why there is a problem there. But what we are doing this year, because we actually asked for it, and the tax department said that why not we only give incentives for solar leasing. So this is a compromise lah. So solar leasing is what? Solar leasing means they come to your house, install for you for free. Okay? For free, zero upfront cost, you pay them installment or pay them the solar power that is lower than your electricity tariff. So overall, you will have a saving. But normally it's not 15 to 30%, normally it's about 10% savings. You have less saving because you don't give the zero upfront cost, and the solar lessor needs to earn some difference. So the solar leasing, because to simplify the tax, so tax department has suggested, and we have announced the new policy where tax exemption, we will give income tax exemption to solar leasing companies. 70% of their income is tax exempted for the next 10 years. So you will see more and more companies that can come to your house and install for you for free and then sell you the thing lah. So that is also one of the incentives that we give. Hopefully with this incentive to solar leasing companies, they will come to the residents. But there's a caveat, I just want to tell you, even G-Sparks is a TNB subsidiaries. They are not looking into houses yet. Why? Because the house, they earn very little. And then someone need to customer service each and every house, earns little. So they don't want. So they will go for the lowest hanging fruit first. Who? Big factories, big industry, big warehouse, big commercial lots. Then after they finish all these big roofs, they will come to the smaller roofs. That is why I say there is an opportunity. Just now I said there is an opportunity for solar business. It's for solar business for those people who can sell to residents and small players, small premises. Because that one, the established solar leasing company, they don't want to take it. Because we changed so much of the policies, they get big businesses. So they don't want, and last time there are not so many projects, so they don't want to go into smaller business because margin very small, but they can still make money. It's just that they don't want to do it. It's because compared to working for big one, they can earn more money. So some of you here who are interested, who think that you can actually have a solution, especially a more creative solution for residential houses, I think this is a very good business opportunity because we see it as a gap in the industry right now. Nobody wants to do for residents, even for solar leasing. Even I give you tax exemption because their company is not big enough to do all this customer service, etc. But we will see, after they finish the big roofs, they will come to you.